Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to everybody around the world. Welcome back to another One Piece video featuring your boy, Donquixote Doflamingo. Get ready for a very spicy deck profile featuring OP10 here on the channel. Something that we don't typically do here. I know we have a little ways until OP10 drops, but I'm very much excited to showcase a Birdcage Doflamingo deck list to you guys. I know it's long overdue, but your boy has been cooking. I've been trying different variations, and I've come up with a deck list that I think is very good, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. As I typically do here on the channel, especially when it comes to Dofi, you guys will see different iterations of the deck as we go and get more into OP10, at least on our side of the world. With that said, I'm going to showcase a list that I've been cooking up, and I do hope you guys are going to enjoy it. I am trying to still tune the list up because there are some other variations I am coming up with and I'm having fun with doing. So again, you guys will see more iterations of this deck on the channel as time progresses. Now currently, for my list that I have cooking up right now, I'm not going to hold you. This deck in itself is not meta defining by any means, right? Dofi hasn't, or sorry, I guess Purple Grape Doflamingo has not been meta for a very long time, but he does have some very good matchups in today's format, but he also has a lot of bad matchups into the format as well. Each their own. But currently, this is my list that I've been playing around with the most, and I'm having a lot of fun with this one. So don't sleep on it, give it a shot. Leave your thoughts and your opinions down in the comments below. Without further ado, let's dive into this list here real quick. Now, we are going to be keeping a bunch of cards that we typically would have in a Dofi list, like Spiderweb. I am going to be playing around with Flap Thread, Ragnarok, and of course, Beam Sword. Now, some of these cards are interchangeable if you wish, but some cards you must have, like Spiderweb and Birdcage. The other events are going to be up to you. I personally am going to be running Flap Thread because I am utilizing this card with Eustace Kid, and then Ragnarok to deal with a bunch of the other big bodies that you cannot remove due to the fact that you're purple and green. Ragnarok allows you to deal with Eustace Kids, Hody Jones, things like that. Now, this also removes some of the big blockers in the format, which is pretty nice. And then, of course, you can't rest anything that's 5 cost or more with Birdcage, so Ragnarok allows you to remove those key pieces that really stall you back, or Ragnarok also helps you remove those big cards that Birdcage can't lock down, so this is a addition to the deck at which I think you're going to utilize the most right now when it comes to removal. Now, if we were Luffy, if we had Straw Hat connections here, we could use some of the other purple cards that are very good. Unfortunately, we cannot use some of the more busted cards in the game right now, which I would love to, but Gum Gum Giant, we're not Straw Hat leaders, so if we were, this card would be here. Of course, this is a very strong card. If only Dofi could utilize this, or we get something like this in the future, Doflamingo would be very strong. Now, with that being said, we do have a similar card to this, not as good, but some of you may argue that why aren't I running this card? It's very strong in Birdcage, Doflamingo, etc., and that would be Off-White. It's a similar card to it, but this allows you to look up the 3 cards on top of your deck and then take a Donquixote Pirate. Sometimes you're not going to find that 2K counter. Sometimes you are also not going to be able to pull off an event. You're not going to be able to pull Spiderweb or Flap Thread out. You only are able to get a character card, which is unfortunate because, be that as it may, you may drop down Eustace Kid, you may drop down a Birdcage in the bottom of your deck, So this is why we aren't going to be running Off-White. In some of my previous iterations of Doflamingo, I use this card a little bit, not necessarily one of my favorites. I'm more partial to Spiderweb and Flap Thread and Punk Gibson. And if you notice, Punk Gibson also isn't in this list particularly. Not that it's a bad card, I just couldn't find room for it, and in today's format, I'm not really struggling dealing with 4-cost units anymore, so I tried to change it around a little bit and add some of the new stuff from OP10 and get a lot of value with that. And speaking of which, 8-drop Doflamingo here is going to be essential for this deck. I tried running it without this card and it feels very lackluster. And I will tell you, the superpower in this deck is going to be Eustace Kid and Rosinante. These 2 cards are going to be very gross if you can have both of them on board. Your boy here allows you to set up 2 Dawn on top of your leader ability. So each and every turn, you guys have 4 Dawn that you can spend. Those 4 Dawn enable Eustace Kid to stay alive. Nobody is removing this unless you're using Ragnarok, Kingdom Come, or Red Rock, right? Or attacking into this heavily, super invested. Now, Eustace Kid, being a 10k body with Flap Thread, on top of having the opportunity of Spiderwebbing or Beam Sword something else on your opponent's side of the board, is very, very good. You can also add in some of the other events here for Donquixote Pirates, which is, we don't have that many, but again, off-white, any event that you can utilize that costs 2 is going to be very, very strong with Eustace Kid. And you're enabled to do this as long as Rosinante is on the field, giving you 2 extra Dawn. And speaking of which, yes, I have tried it. I can't make this card work consistently just yet. It's pretty good. There are times where I can have 5 Dawn up, and that's just because I get the 2 extra from this, and I might have 1 Dawn floating over when I end my turn, so I have 1 Dawn there, then I get 2 Dawn from Dofi, then I get 2 Dawn from him, which makes it 5. There are occasions where I can get this card to pop off, but I don't really want to make a build around this. I don't think this card's that great. I know some people enjoy this one. It's not for me, so that's why I'm not going to be included in this deck list today. There are some other cards here I have thought about and I have used in the past. And again, I'm not going to hold you guys. I've been playing Doflamingo for a very, very long time. I've used pretty much every event you can think about. Where are we at? Hell's Judgment, very strong. The reason why I didn't include it is because my build here doesn't have the room in which I want to. I may drop down a Ragnarok here and cut off some of the 5-drop Doflamingos to add in more Hell's Judgment, and I might cut this guy out entirely, but we'll get into that. In any case, this is a very strong card into the blue Doflamingo matchup because it allows you to minimize the amount of damage you're going to take in a turn, considering he likes to swarm the board. Now, on top of Hell's Judgment and Birdcage, you typically can lock down that matchup no problem, but you don't always see this, let's be fair. So Hell's Judgment does help you out in that matchup tremendously. With that being said, there are other cards in this deck list that we didn't have access to before, which is the OP10 Doflamingo here. Now, this one isn't necessarily special. I prefer Diamante over this always. It's just he's a 5-drop, and the reason why it's so important that he's a 5-drop is anything that's 5 cost and under, when you drop a Doflamingo, the 8 cost on board, you can play down a Diamante, you can play down a Doflamingo or a Sugar or a Rosinante down for free, which is really, really good. So this being a 5 is kind of irrelevant, but at the same time, it's another blocker that you can get on the board for free off of the 8-drop summon, which is really strong. His effect is kind of lackluster. It's not very important. We're not really worried about that all too much. The key blocker for you is still going to be Diamante, but this really helps you flood the board out and get a lot of bodies on board and pressure your opponent. I find myself using this more so than the 10-drop because I think everybody and their brother is already anticipating you to put a 10-drop Dofi on board. He's not as valuable as he once was back in the day. Let's be fair. Most players nowadays are anticipating you to drop this and they want to attack you on the 10 Dawn turn. So I kind of cut this down a little bit. I run 2. Sometimes I'll up this to 3. It all depends on how I'm feeling with consistency when it comes to the build. But currently I'm getting a lot more value with the 8-drop just because I can get more bodies on board. And speaking of bodies on board, his on-play ability for Rosinante allows you to trash one event from your hand. When you do, you get to draw 2 extra cards. So do be mindful of that if you guys are searching out for your Eustace Kids or your 10-drop Dofis or whatever it may be, maybe your Sugars. This is really good for you to find them. And speaking of Sugar, this will help you out in 9 out of 10 of all of your games. Most late game decks nowadays, especially like Purple Luffy and Black Purple Luffy, they use the 9-cost Rush Luffy, right? Which is a pain because it's a 10k body that allows you to slap on board and just go face. The same thing with Hody Jones, with Jewelry Bonnie. Cards like this are irrelevant when it comes to Doflamingo, just because as soon as they hit the board, you can just rest them. You don't have to worry about it. Of course, the following turn you still have to deal with it, but it still saves you that initial on play. You know what I mean? Sugar is very, very strong, just because she is a constant threat. Even though she gets rested by Birdcage and she gets locked down, her abilities will still work no matter what. So that's something you can keep in mind. This also helps you out in the Blackbeard matchup as well. If you have a Sugar on board already and they decide to drop a 10 cost Teach, you can rest the Teach, which is pretty nice. Now, that matchup is still a nightmare, but, you know, each their own. But so far, this list has been cooking for me quite well. The other thing I do want to talk about, because I told you I want to cut this card out. I'm not sure what I want to replace this with. I've been playing around with Mach-Vice, and for some reason, every iteration of Doflamingo, I always feel like I want to have this man in the deck. Almost every single one. He's very strong, and we don't have any 4-cost units that we typically play here, so Mach-Vice would really suit this list. The downside is he's not a blocker, but he still has that 1k counter and he can still make do in this list. And he allows you to rest one of your opponent's 5-cost characters just automatically when he hits the board, which is nice, because that way he can permanently lock them down for Birdcage. The other thing is he allows you to set up 1 extra Dawn at the end of your turn. So if you already have 1 extra Dawn floating over, you get 2 from your leader, that makes you 3. This will make you 4. If you have a Rosinante on board, that pushes you up to 6. That's 3 events that you could utilize with Spiderweb, Flap Thread, some mixture between. You know, it's very, very good. The other card I was playing around with for a little while, outside of Rosinante, for obvious reasons, this is another card that you can enable off the Eustace Kid. Very good, something that you can consider. Or more searchers when it comes to Baby 5. But the other one I was looking at was this guy. Senior Pink. Not necessarily a bad card, because he allows you to extend the Birdcage by minusing 1 Dawn. The downside to it is he searches out a purple event, which most of the time I'm not necessarily utilizing purple events in Doflamingo outside of Beam Sword or Ragnarok occasionally. I don't necessarily need to recycle these a lot. So I mean, if this was a green event, this would be so much better. And that's the only reason why I'm not necessarily running this guy. There are some purple events, like I mentioned, like Hell's Judgment, which is really good, that you can consider him for. Other than that, he doesn't really get a lot of value. The other one would be Diamante. This is our first time we've had a 7k 5-drop that I remember, right? I don't think we had another one beforehand. In any case, you can play this guy off of Doflamingo as well. So he can still fit in that slot when it comes to replacing the Dofi blockers without too much of a downside. The other card I have been playing around with is Pika. Not the purple one, the green one. Yeah, I said it, the green one. Just because there are a lot of black matchups today, like Rob Lucci and Blackbeard, anything that has removal nowadays is pretty much you're going to face all the time. The only thing that this card doesn't help you with is in the blue matchup, outside of smacking into Doflamingo's bodies on board. Boa would just bounce it, Lalal would just bounce it. He's not very consistent when it comes to blue, but every other color out there he does quite well, and you're able to rest a character on your field if this card gets KO'd. Ideally you can rest your Diamante, or you can rest the Doflamingo blocker. That allows you to restand him at the end of the turn, per se. But overall, we're going to dive into a bunch of games today. Hopefully you guys are ready for this one. Let's get at it. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. We're going to dive into a bunch of games today. Come at you guys with Birdcage Doflamingo, playing into Blue Dofi. And where would I be without showcasing this deck against a Blue Dofi in the current format? I believe every time I do a Birdcage video, we have to feature Blue Doflamingo. I'm pretty sure it's in almost every video, but, you know, it is what it is. In any case, you guys should already know how hard Birdcage goes in this matchup against Blue Doflamingo. It's very, very strong, considering all of his cards are under 5 cost besides Jozu, the occasional Boa Hancock, and the occasional Kaido, right? I'm pretty sure that's it. Birdcage locks down everything else, which makes this matchup kind of a breeze, to be fair. And I kind of come out this matchup as if I'm playing a control deck. So I'm never attacking life unless I absolutely have to, right? So I try to control the board as much as possible. And that's the whole point of having the Birdcage. Unfortunately, Rosinante decided to suck today and not draw it for me. So that's pretty rough. So this is probably going to be a maybe a bad matchup, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. The Law came down earlier and got the bounce off, which is really, really annoying because he's able just to do that for free. And I think a lot of people think that card is pretty strong and will potentially get banned, you know? But joke's on you. It's getting reprinted in PRB too, so heads up. Which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Now, we're gonna try to get Birdcage down if possible. Like if we draw into it, I would definitely be playing it on board. I just don't expect much. Look at that. Another bounce. He's so cool, isn't he? Another Doflamingo here, or Doflamingo, Rosinante. And we're already at 2 life to 5, and this hand is kind of ridiculous as well. I guess we'll just drop another one. We'll try to fish out no Birdcage. Okay. Maybe today is not the day. Today is not the day. I don't know what else to do here, boys. Guess it's time to wall up. I mean, we're almost to 8 Dawn here. We have 3 events for Eustace Kid. We have Rosinantes on board. And yes, their effects do stack. Just in case you guys weren't aware of this. This card is going to be so strong with Eustace Kid. Look at this. You get 2 from Leader, and you get 2 per Rosinante that's on board. We have 6 Dawn. So as I mentioned in the opening of the video with the 5-cost event, it's possible to use it in this deck and get value with it. I personally just don't have space, and I don't really necessarily like the card all too much. You know, I gave my reasoning for it earlier. I just feel like, for me, I'd rather use the Flap Thread and Spiderweb in place of the 5-cost, but I may try to wiggle it in here at some point by removing the 5-cost blocker Doflamingo, or at least cutting it down to 2. You know what I mean? But we'll see. More testing. You guys will see different iterations of this deck here on the channel. Jozu bounces back another 5-cost, which isn't too bad. I don't really mind all too much. We potentially can give him the 5-cost Rosie here too. He does know we have the Diamante, so we'll give him the Rosie for now. Getting Diamante down here would be pretty good, because Rosinante himself allows me to restand 2 Dawn, in which Diamante will always be able to restand at the end of the turn, no matter what. And then I can also have Dawn left over for events. So he is another very, very strong card to pair with Rosinante. Alright, so we got no 8-cost Dofi. We got 2 kids in hand. The potential for Red Rock is kind of high. We know he has the Law Bounce and a Sengoku, if I remember. But I would assume he might have Red Rock as well. We'll find out. Nothing else to do right now besides poke him, so we have to actually get cards out of hand here. We'll drop a kid on board. Kid can actually get down Sugar here, which is pretty good. I can't rest anything, but Sugar will do her thing and slow him down. And then we'll get back 4 Dawn here. So that means we have 2 events to utilize with Kid. And as long as he doesn't have a Red Rock, Kid is going to stay on this board forever. Because Dofi has to commit a lot of Dawn to try to remove him. And I think it would be a little interesting if he decides to go and do Leader ability here, just to try to develop a body on board without trying to clear the Kid. I'm okay with that, but still. Because now we can rest the Jozu, right? And then he has to commit quite a bit of Dawn to attack into the Kid. And if he had the Red Rock, he'd play the Red Rock, right? He got himself a blocker off the Sengoku. Jozu's going to bounce back the Sugar. I don't know why he got rid of that. Never mind. Okay. I'll take that play. That's fine. Because that gives us another option to drop him on board and draw 2 cards, so that's a little strange. But okay. He got the Teach. There's another Boa. So we got a Boa. So that's the Boa that was in his hand that we know of originally, that he got from the Sengoku, probably, right? Unless he had 2. I don't want to give him events here, so we'll give him a Sugar. I was looking for that Doflamingo. That would have been great. I think it'd be a little expensive now. I mean, we have a Sugar on board, so I guess we can search for the Sugar in hopes that we find a Doflamingo, maybe. Which wouldn't be bad. There he is. That's really, really good for us. We could take the event as well, but I think the Dofi is going to be a lot more valuable here. Because that way we can play Doflamingo down, and we have 1 Don left over for the kid. This will get us Rosinante, which will restand more Don for more events. This is beautiful. And then we can toss a Spiderweb here to draw 2 extra cards. I think the Flap Thread is a little bit more valuable. Okay, so we got a 2K and another Doflamingo for next turn. Now we can start poking. Or poke some more. Let's go ahead and go 8 into Boa. Or 9 into Boa. Math. You know, I feel like we're playing this match from behind, considering we didn't get the Birdcage, but we are doing very, very well. We haven't seen a Pudding, nor have we seen a Red Rock. Which is great. What do you do here? He's got 2 Jozu, so he does have opportunities of clearing the kid. I mean, he could just go, okay, alright. I guess we're doing that. 12 into 8 is a number. Definitely is a problem. I could Flap Thread, or I could, we could Spiderweb to just stand up the kid, and then give him another 2K counter, right? Or a 1K counter. But then he has potential of just going 7 to face and going 6 to face. Well, I guess he could teach, right? If he teaches, he goes 7-7. And that's 2 damage and more counter in hand I would have to get rid of. So it's better to not restand the kid. Just Flap Thread, throw out a couple of counters, and call it a day. Yep. I guess we can get rid of the other sugar. Considering she's still on board for some reason. We'll take those. Free searches are always nice. So your boy is going to be a base 10k blocker now that he has to get rid of before he can attack into life. And this is why I think the Eustace kid with the Flap Thread is just so strong. Let alone in this deck. But being able to have kid with Rosinante just gives us access to more events every single turn. Usually we would just have 2 Don open, right? Let's be fair. But now with Rosie, we're going to have 2 events prior. Maybe a Flap Thread and then something else, which is really good. There's a Birdcage. Way, way too late. You know what? I'm not mad. Let's drop Sugar. We'll rest the Weevil and we'll drop a Birdcage on board. I'm not really pressed to get any other characters down right now. We don't have to throw down another kid or anything. We'll slap this down. This way we can kill the Jinbei and the Weevil. If only we had a way to rest the Teach right now. I suppose I could have used Sugar to rest to Teach instead of the Jinbei, but at least we get rid of another attacker on board. And now we're just trying to go for hand here. I think if we were to attack the 9k Dofi into it, it might have been a better opportunity, but I just want to see if we can get cards. If he lets it go, that's fine. He does. He doesn't. Okay. You're cool. And again. Okay. That's fair. Let's go 6. Well, if we go 6, he gets killed by Birdcage, right? That's fine. It's okay. It's fine, boys. Put him to 2. Ain't mad. You know, in hindsight, that was a real stupid play. I shouldn't have done that. That's my fault. Alright, I already called it out. My bad, alright? It happened. It's too late now. We shouldn't have attacked there with Rosinante. I get it. It's fine. It's okay. Bouncing Sugar, sure. This is why Law is just so good. The card's so gross. Okay, let's see. That was a Teach ability. I wonder what he put there. I mean, maybe another blocker Boa? He's got 4 in hand, though. Okay. Goes 8 in the kid, yep. Here's a Weevil, gets to draw a card. I don't think I want to give him the Sugar. I think Sugar might be better for me to play next turn just to rest the Teach to get rid of it. Yeah, no, I over-countered, but still. I could have given him the Doflamingo or the Diamante as well, I guess. 11k. And he has no Dawn open. I don't want to use the event just yet. He knows we have the Diamante. He knows we have the sugar. We're just going to have to do the thing. The sugar is pretty valuable here just to remove the teach. Oh. Dang, we got another one. If we had known that, we would have kept the Diamante. But what am I to do? We can drop Doflamingo here. Use the ability. Play sugar on board or rest your boy. Have 2 Dawn left over right now. We could get a search off, actually, with sugar. Let's try to clear this first, see what he wants to do. Uh-huh. It's a lot of counter you're giving me. We'll take those. Alright, so Jozu is gone. There's no way. I mean, if he wants to give me his whole hand, I'll take it. We still have a decent amount of counter for the following turn with Eustace Kid. If he goes 12 into Kid again, we have the Spiderweb to make us 12 and another sugar in hand. So we can restand him and then take 2 hits. And then potentially kill him the following turn. Let's clear Teach. If for some reason I feel like he would actually use Dawn, or sorry, use counter to protect him. I guess we can take the 2Ks here. We'll go 5 here. Do not counter out. Let it go. Thank you. Cool. So now Kid survives no matter what. Just because the Spiderweb will restand him, then I have to take 2 extra hits to face. He's got 4 in hand. With the board that we have now, I think we just win. It's very risky though, right? If we let him go, I think we lose. Because I need the extra attack. Maybe the 2 9Ks will successfully get through, but I'll need something else here to follow through. So I guess we're taking a couple hits to the face here. I don't really need to give him the sugar. I can give him just the baby 5. I know it's over countering, but I think we're fine. And it's better to keep the sugar here. Hear me out. Think about it. If we got rid of the sugar versus the baby 5, and he decides to leader ability here, right? Or play down a boa from hand, then he has a blocker up. So, there's Doflamingo. It might not matter because we have 4 attacks, but still. Just in case. I mean, I can't rest anything. Unfortunate. Alright, so now we're at 0. 4 in hand. How do we want to do this? We can play down Doflamingo here, the 10 drop. I can clear a body on board, play Dofi, freeze everything, and then take it slow. Or we can just pressure face. Because I'm pretty sure we can take game right now. Although it's still pretty scary, I guess. He needs quite a bit, right? Let's do a poke. Okay. Not bad. 12. We can go 12 here with Doflamingo. Alright, never mind. Well, good game, buddy. Well played. All that with that Birdcage, too. Wild. I mean, you guys gotta give it to me. It was a really good matchup, even without the Birdcage that time. And I think it's because we were able to have the Eustace Kid and have the big Doflamingo bodies on board. As long as we're able to clear his important characters with the sugars and stuff by resting them, it just does very, very well. Now, with Birdcage, I don't think he would have gotten that far. So, there's that. Get the search off here. I wish we can take the Eustace Kid, but we can't. We have to take the 5 cost here. Which does kind of suck. But we do have double blockers here in this matchup. Which might be relevant. Especially if she's dropping Zoro or Hody Jones. Because Hody Jones will just rest them and attack into them. Probably. So, we'll see. Sure. I'll remove 2 Rosinantes. That's totally cool. I imagine you go 5 into sugar. Okay, you got that sugar instead. Interesting. Sure, you can have it. A little weird. I don't know how I feel about that. Because at the end of the day, she's just going to rest sugar. That does not remove sugar's ability. And she still has to attack into it the following turn to get rid of it. So, and we draw another one. But still no Birdcage. Very unlucky. I feel like this matchup, though, in itself is very, very good with Doflamingo here. Just because our 8-cost kid cannot be removed no matter what Bonnie does. She can't kill it unless she's going to don heavily up with like Zoro or Hody Jones or what have you to run into it. And being able to slap down Rosinante with kid and have 2 events up to protect the kid is very, very huge here. And I feel like I'm a better wall of a deck, if that makes sense. Sounds crazy, but I feel like with the sugar, the Rosinante, and the kid, it does very, very well. And I think Diamante is also going to get a lot of value here. Because no matter what happens with Diamante when he hits the board or the 5-cost Doflamingo, if she wants to rest them, they can just restand at the end of the turn. I guess this isn't bad, right? Because we can just slap down another sugar here. Just for the, for giggles. Let's do it. We're not resting anything, it's fine. Yep. We get to restand the Dawn, and then we have 4 Dawn up with 1 event in hand. The 5-cost Dofies kind of just, I wish they were other cards right now, but it is what it is. Oh, there you go, get the rest of that. That's pretty strong. I'm going to spend my turn next turn. We're going to block. I'm going to spend my turn here just to remove the 8-cost kid. I don't really care at this point. We're just going to remove it. And then we can just slow play the game for a while. Ooh. Actually, I need to save up at least 2 Dawn here. And then we can attach this to Rosinante, or sorry, Diamante, and go for it. I'd imagine she's going to rest the other 6k, which is fine. 12 is a number. That's cool. Yep. I forgot she can't rest and she has no Dawn up. Duh. I probably should have attached more Dawn here then. That's my bad. Yeah, I guess math wasn't math, and I probably should have went 13. I'd assume she'd have the counter, but still. That's fine. That's my fault. It's okay. It happens. We did get a lot of cards out of hand, though, so we'll take that. So now we are going to have to attack into the kid, because we couldn't clear it here. Bonnie having 3 cards on turn 5 is kind of nutty. What do we play here? Okay. Tashigi, I love it. The card is so good. We'll rest it. So kid cannot be removed by an effect. I have to attack into it. Tashigi is basically Rosinante, you know what I mean? The 2-cost Rosie, sorry. 13k here. Sure. We have another one. So there's a flap thread, and we have a kid in hand as well. All said and done, we have to remove kid right now. So 2 cards in hand, so potentially up to 12k. And bye-bye. Sure. Do we give her cards, or should we clear the Tashigi? I think it's better to clear it. We have to go 6, just to be safe. Nice. Drop down another sugar, and we'll pass turn. This card is so good. I feel like people are just low-key sleep on sugar. Considering you don't get to see it unless you're playing a Dofi build. You know, people don't really necessarily have the opportunity to play matches with a Doflamingo that can utilize the sugar. So it's very hard to play around it where you're not prepared, or you don't have that experience into the match. Because now we rest a 10 drop here and we just clear it for free. And there's nothing that she can do about it. And then we just restand the blocker and call it a day. And if she wants to commit Dawn to play another big unit on board, she probably won't be able to attack me due to Diamante being up with events in hand. We can rest your boy here too, no problem. Okay, Tashigi hits the board again. Goes 8 into sugar. Okay. This might be a little weird, but we're going to have to do this. We probably don't have to. I think we can probably let her go. But we're going to use the event spiderweb and just restand ourselves and take the block here. Okay, another spiderweb back. We could drop double blockers here or just play Eustace Kid. But I do want to clear the Cavendish if possible. Okay. Nice. We'll play Kid down now. We can attach it on here, and then we can also attach it on to Diamante just to have it restand. We don't have anything to play, which is unfortunate. We can go 5 lead. Yep. And then we get 4 Dawn here. 2 events. We're chilling. Kid is protected. We have Sugar on board. If she wants to drop Hody Jones or whatever, we can rest a carrot, no problem. I think removing the Kid here should have been the priority. Or at least attempting to. And if she's searching out with Bonnie, what is she looking for here? Killer. Interesting. Okay. She did see Cavendish, although it was a bit late. She still didn't have much else that was going on in hand. So, and we didn't draw Birdcage either. And we still did well. Speaking of Birdcage. Can't complain. Cannot complain. We're going to keep them coming. Rapid fire. I don't know how many games we are going to do today. I'm not entirely sure. But I will tell you, Smoker is a very fun deck to play. Very, very fun. Like, I didn't think about it when the leader was revealed. I didn't really care all too much. And that's kind of how I felt with a lot of leaders in this set. I think if I had to choose, probably Smoker and Sugar are going to be my favorite ones to play. Caesar, I haven't given much thought, so I don't like him as much as a character. I'm sorry. But, in any case, Smoker will be coming to the channel very, very soon. I want to play this deck, whether it's locally or on Sim or what have you. I think this deck is going to be a lot of fun. Now, I am going to be working on some custom playmats and stuff. My artist is going to do one here for Smoker. I hope after the one that they are currently doing, which is a Gear 5 Luffy with the different gears. So, that's coming soon. In any case, let's dive back into this game. This matchup isn't necessarily that difficult for me if I find Cage. If I don't find Cage, Smoker can kind of just run me over because they just play down the Tashigi, right? And they just keep getting Dawn active. Therefore, they can slap down on multiple bodies at a time, which is very, very difficult for me to deal with because they're able to go wide so quickly. But we'll clear this, actually. We'll just go 10k here. They don't have a lot of removal unless they are playing with other cards that are from EBO2 or like Jet Pistol. You know, I've seen some decks run some crazy stuff out there. I think we all have. Now, I'm not really expecting it, but if they are playing with stuff from EBO2, it is what it is. We are currently only using OP10 stuff here in this list, so no extra shenanigans or any of that. Sure, you can have her. That's fine. We have a really solid hand here. So if they aren't using anything that's like too out of the ordinary, I think our Eustace Kid will just be able to stick on board for free. Now, of course, they could have Roundtable, but I haven't seen a smoker list that is running that card, and I'm grateful for that. We'll drop a blocker here and pass it up. I try to also take this matchup as a control and try to deal with board before I go for life, if possible. And I don't know why I said Shishigi, I meant smoker. This card right here is pretty gross. It's very, very good. It allows them to get kind of like multiple bodies down in a turn, and it's hard to deal with. Alright, so there's that. ST21. Great. I did not expect that, to be fair. That's a very good card. I always forget, like, the sim has... You can mix and match from other sets as well. Like, this is OP10, right? So I expected just to play with OP10. Little did I know, I did forget that this also includes EBO2, so that's my bad. That's okay. It's on me. Regardless, not much I could have done there. Yep, gets the block. Sure. The purple Doflamingo here, though, by the way, is very similar to the 8-drop Rosinante that we have, except for this time around, Doflamingo can play down any character from our family that is 5 costs or less, whether it's purple or green. Meanwhile, Rosinante plays a 5 cost character that is green. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like Dofi has so much more value here. Being able to drop himself and another blocker that can just restand at the end of every turn is just so strong. Normally I like to try to combo him up with Rosinante, but of course we have nothing but events in hand right now. Not technically a bad thing, because we do have the removal for the kid here. Should we take this hit? Because he might just poke me again with the smoker. We don't need to use the ability. We get a sugar off life. We have Ragnarok in hand. Goes 9. I don't really care too much. I think we have to guard here just to be safe. Okay. We have to remove the Rosinante first. And I think that's possible. I think it's possible. She's got 3 in hand. Yeah, I don't have to attack into the kid, but he's going to be a problem if I don't remove him. So, we have to at least try here. If all else fails, we'll just Ragnarok him and call it a day. I assume this will get the chopper blocker. Unless he has a counter in hand. Oh, he just gives me Rosinante. Okay. Well, you're gonna learn today. Pop this. 4-Don open. I guess we can attack into the smoker here. And force the block. Which isn't too bad. He still has to give me 3k counter. Nice. And then we just poke face. Cool. We have another spiderweb here, which is better to slap down on Diamante versus the flap thread, just because he can ignore the Diamante, unlike the kid. You know what I mean? I have to be mindful of Hody Jones here as well. Oh, there it is. Speak of the fish, and he shall appear. Or mofolk. Merfolk, right? That's how you say it. Alright, what are we doing? This is so good, man. Just to be able to drop down Hody Jones and then use Smoker's ability to get the Don back is kind of nutty. He's got 6 Don left. I think they will clear him no matter what. But if I don't use the event here, they just go face, so we have to do the restand. This way he's forced to commit harder if he wants to remove it, or attacking the Doflamingo on board. If only we had Rosinante here, we'd be a lot better off. But it's okay. We're doing fine. Okay, so Virgo, they're looking for something. They get another blocker. Sure. I need to get a couple sugars here if we're going to try to go for game, because I have to be able to rest the blocker, the poke face. There's a Rosinante. 5 lead. Yeah, we'll give him this. I need sugar here. Okay. Oh my goodness. Well, you know, we'll take it. We will take it. I think that's the first one we've seen this match, actually. Okay. We'll go 9 first. We have 2 extra attacks here. And I think we have to go all out. Because I can't play down Kid and have him be safe. Of course, I could play Kid first and then play Sugar off the Kid. But he has enough Dawn just to be able to run over Kid, no problem. If this... Okay, it lands. And that's game. Well played, buddy. Let's go 7 first. Just in case he has an event. Because I don't think they play anything other than Rad Beams at 1. That I'm aware. Okay, yeah, there's Rad Beam. And then we just go 12 and call it a day. Wow. Wow, pretty good. You know, I feel kind of bad because this is supposed to be a Birdcage Doflamingo deck, and we've yet to see Birdcage, so it's not my fault. And I know it happens at local scenes too, especially when you guys are taking a rogue deck or an off-meta deck to locals, such as this, and you get into a game, you don't draw Birdcage. And I know how bad it feels. I've been there multiple times. I get it. But I've also come to realize that with this new set in OP10, it's not about having to rely on Birdcage now, because we have so many big bodies in the late game, so many blockers that we have access to now, that you can kind of hold your own, depending on what deck you are playing against, right? So playing against decks like such as a Nell or Rob Lucci, Marcel D. Teach, decks such as that is not going to be a fun time. Zorro is not going to be a fun time. We got Birdcage for once. Wow. Alright, we're in luck. Never mind. Never mind what I was going to say, because I already forgot. We'll play Sugar down, we'll rest this, we'll go 6 into it, just remove it. Next turn, we'll drop Birdcage on board, and we'll just... It's smooth sailing at that point. As long as we draw into an 8-cost Doflamingo, or Ragnarok, anything that can minus Dawn for at least 1 turn, we're fine. We have the Sugar on board to do the search again, unless Uta decides to clear it. I hope not, but... New Genesis, got some Shanks, so they have at least 1 Shanks in hand, which is cool. Backlight. Huh? Alright. Thanks for that. You know, technically you should have just attacked into it first, and then played the Uta. But we all make mistakes, it's okay. We're only human. Sure. You got it. Because now we can clear the Uta, no problem. We're just rested here all day. Which is probably better, right? Can you give us the 8 cost, though? That's all we really need. Let's go 5 lead. This is probably a mistake, but it's okay. What happened? Okay, misclick, I'm guessing. Or they hit the button too quick, I'm not sure. It gave me 8k, so a little weird. No Doflamingo. We can take the Rosie, though. And be mindful when you guys are playing this on Sim or you take this deck to locals. Rosinante cannot trash Birdcage to draw cards. Remember that. Birdcage is a stage, which is different for Rosinante. It has to be an event. It is an event, but it's a stage. You know what I mean? So, you cannot throw that away to draw 2. So what are we doing here? Another Uta. Give you the 2K. That's it? Okay, alright. We got a Ragnarok, which is pretty good. Actually, no, we're not going to do that. Well, I really need to remove these, truthfully. Well, let's drop this. Let's pitch this. We got nothing. Absolutely cooked. I think Kid is going to be pretty important here in this match. Just not as much as I would like. And that's because they have Shanks in hand and they can just drop Shanks to kill Kid, which we can't do anything about. So he loses a lot of value here in this matchup. I think our win condition, if we're able to draw it, would be the 10 cost Doflamingo, because Uta, you know, being able to restand with I'm Invincible is a problem. Giving you multiple cards here is probably not what I want to do. I'm not going to use this either. Speaking of which, I feel like every time I get a spiderweb off trigger, I never actually want to use it. I don't know why. It might just be a me thing. Sure. I rested the Kid for you, but at least they weren't able to play down another body with the Kid, so. And Ragnarok is still here. See ya. I wonder how mad, honestly. I don't even have to like force myself in attacking these, because we can just go face for free. Thanks to Birdcage being a thing. Sadly enough, we cannot do the search with Sugar, but our 2-cost Sugar will be able to control everything else on board. So if they decide to drop a Zoro or Shanks here, it's kind of irrelevant when Sugar's on field. What is this? EBO2. Okay, great. That card's really good, by the way. Being able to take out whatever you want is crazy. They got another useless Kid off of that, which I don't care. Alright, so they play Backlight on Sugar. Interesting. I'm not sure if that was worth it, but we'll take it. Another Uta hits the board, so they get the Rested Dawn. Sure. Or not. 7 lead. Okay. They have another Shanks in hand. So that's 5 cards in hands that we don't know of. 2 have no counter out of the 7 that they have. We need to keep Diamante alive. This also lets me restand him instead of having to put a Dawn on him to do it at the end of the turn. We'll go ahead and rest the other Uta. And that's probably with the Kid, right? We drop the Kid on board, play Uta down for free. Or sorry, play Sugar down for free. Or we can just do it this way and just attack into him and force him to give us cards in hand. Because I'm not in dire need of dropping useless Kid on board right now. I think we're chilling. I think we kind of have control of the game until they play, again, a Shanks down or a Hody Jones. Can we try that again? We could drop another blocker here. This is not too bad. Diamante is pretty strong. We're at 10 Dawn. So we're popping the Utas on board. If we do this first, get our Dawn back. That's 3 Utas that have been wiped out, which is pretty solid. They didn't get any value at all, being rested all the time, so they couldn't really attack into me. They have 3 Shanks, a Kid. Wow. Alright, welcome to Birdcage. Sorry, Uta. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry to do this to you, but this will be the last game of the day when it comes to Birdcage Doflamingo, in which we are going to end it off against another Birdcage Doflamingo. I do hope you guys enjoyed this one. This was a lot of fun for me, as it always is when it comes to this deck. But fear not, I will be diving into this list again very soon, because this is one of those decks that I love to try to figure out like different variations to and make it do well. So we will see more of this on the channel very, very soon. But I think the next deck I might do, of course off meta, might be Mono Blue Crocodile for OP10. It might be Red Ace, or we might play into some Perona. I haven't fully decided. There's a lot of decks I actually want to get into for OP10, whether they are old leaders, and then some new leader stuff with Sugar and Smoker. So, we'll see. Either way, I'm hoping to find Birdcage here, because I think Birdcage will control maybe 90% of this matchup. The other 10% is going to probably play around your 8-cost Doflamingo and your Diamante, because we can kind of lock down everything else outside of the 10-cost Dofi and the 8-cost Dofi, right? It also depends on if he's running Hody Jones, Linlen, Kaido, something of that nature. But I think if we can control the early game or just pressure, we should be okay. We have one more sugar for the following turn to at least do one more search. Interesting. Plays down Law. I haven't really thought about the 4-cost Law going into OP10. It might be valuable here. The downside to it is I feel like I've never once played a Doflamingo match where I felt like, man, I wish I could draw this card. You know what I mean? Because often not, when this card came out, a lot of people were kind of playing around it. Most decks that were utilizing it was the purple Luffy, you know what I mean? Once they ramp up, you either know they're going to drop this or they're going to play Bon Clay on board or what have you. And you kind of played around it. And Doflamingo, I feel like it's not as great. And I don't know why you decided to activate a Beam Sword here. That's a little weird. You played Beam Sword to rest my sugar, and then you gave me one of your sugars to keep Law on board. I don't know how I feel about that. That actually might be a game-changing play for you, to be fair. Sure, that's fine. We could restand it and then counter out, but that's definitely not worth it when we have another one in hand. And Law will probably swing into the other sugar if I had to guess, unless he has Birdcage right now. Let's see. Yep. Okay. Yeah, he can have this too, it's fine. Sugar already did her job, we already got the cage, so there's a Mach Vice. We're on 7 Dawn. So we're going to drop down Sugar here, rest Mach Vice, then play Birdcage and call it a day. And go 5 to face, actually. Force him to use up his events here. Nice. I was actually hoping for like a Punk Gibson or something, just to rest the Sugar. We won't play Doflamingo down for a while until we're able to draw into a 5-cost. For the time being, we'll just utilize Eustace Kid. I like how there's all these sugars here in trash. Look at him. That's crazy. Anyway, if he doesn't have Ragnarok, he's not going to be able to remove Kid. Sure, we'll rest that. This list is looking kind of familiar. I say that about every single Birdcage I see. I don't know why. Either way, though, Bon Clay and Doflamingo is still pretty good. But I feel like if he doesn't have, again, Ragnarok or Kaido, Linlen, it's just, what's the point? Because you're trying to ramp up as quickly as possible, get the big boys, then minus the Dawn when you have the Birdcage on board. So, we'll drop Kid down. We'll use the ability, we'll put Sugar down off of this. Yes, I could have played the 8-cost Dofi, played Sugar, extended Birdcage. But I don't need to play him right now. I'm looking for a 5-cost character at the very least, like a Rosinante or a Diamante. And now he has to attach a Dawn to leader to swing into Kid, or drop something like Kaido on board or Hody Jones to go into the Kid. There's no way he's going to be able to clear it. I mean, if he chose to just all in it, then sure, he can have it. But it looks like he decides just to go 8k. I don't know if that's worth it. We'll give him the 2k counter here. Because then he has 7 Dawn worth of Dawn left over. Or sorry, he can go 7k with the Dawn amount he has left over. Rosinante. That's to protect from Birdcage. Speaking of which, let's drop down the 8 cost, considering we top decked. Minus the Dawn, extend the cage, so Rosinante is kind of irrelevant right now. And then we just start poking. We're gonna go set 9 into Sanji. I don't really care about attacking leader here. I'd rather get rid of this if possible. Because I feel like if we went 9 into lead, he's just gonna give us the card. Nice. Sure, we can go 6 here. There's not really a point of holding this Dawn back anyway. Because it's gonna pop next turn no matter what with Birdcage, and the Rosinante is just gonna be able to save everything. So that does suck. But he still has to remove Kid here. Actually, he doesn't. Because I could Beam Sword to rest the Rosinante, right? But I want to have the Kid at least to survive. So, if he attacks into me, I guess we can just use Spiderweb. And then restand the Kid and force him to attack me to give me cards. I think that'll be the play. Because there's no way he shouldn't be able to remove Kid here. Like, he can do math, right? He can just Dawn up and attack into him. And we only have enough for one event right now. Unless it's like 2 Blast Breaths, you know? Which is unlikely, but still. Yep. That's 10. So we're forced to use the event or block. I think it's better to use the event. This way he has no choice but to attack into face or not attack me at all. Yeah, or restand him. He still has a decent amount of Dawn up though, so he could play something else potentially here. But he needs to save at least 2 Dawn for his events if he has any in hand. So he's gonna go, what, 8? Okay. Sure. We got a Doflamingo. Love to see it. Ooh, we got the sugar. We win the game. I mean, I guess we can stall it out. We can play 10-drop Dofi, rest the Sanji and the leader, and just stall out for a turn. Birdcage will pop and kill everything else on board, but this way we can just rest Rosinante, because Birdcage can't clear board while Rosinante is present. Nice. This works out. So 2 8-cost Doflamingos and a Hody Jones. Interesting. What is he running here? I mean, I love the Machvice. The Law, Machvice, and Bond Clay seem a little... It seems a little much for 4-drops here. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to the end of today's video. I do hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. I had a lot of fun today, playing around with Doflamingo as I normally do here on the channel. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. I will be updating the list relatively soon. I have so many Birdcages. In any case, this has been my iteration of current Birdcage Doflamingo for OP10. Yes, unfortunately, although we are running 4 Birdcages, we didn't see this every single game. And it does happen. I'm aware. It happens locally on Sim. It doesn't matter. There'll be games where you just don't see the card. Now, I feel like this deck in itself was a lot harder to win with when you didn't see Birdcage. Now being in OP10 where you have access to cards like Rosinante that allow you to draw 2 more cards, or having cards like Doflamingo here, which gives you free bodies on board, which can stall out the game or just give you extra attackers like Diamante, is very, very good. This allows you to combat Blue Doflamingo even without Birdcage. Becoming a 7k swing here, just going into their 5ks on board, is very, very strong. It allows them to pitch a lot of cards from hand and leaving you blockers for the end of the turn, along with Dawn from your Rosinante and your leader for events. I think this deck is very, very good. There are a lot of bad matchups though, unfortunately, and I'm not going to tell you this deck isn't going to be like top meta. It's just not right now. I'm sorry. As much as I love this leader, and you guys know it, he just can't really... It's very hard to compete when you're playing against like Marshall D. Teach and Nell and Rob Lucci, right? To be fair. And Nell especially. The man just plays big body after big body in the late game. Birdcage isn't doing all too much. You really got to see your big boys to be able to compete into that matchup. And even still, just dropping a Ragnarok on this man is just like, alright, cool. So I think if my locals was a little bit more focused on decks like that, I think I'd have to include Rosinante here in this list, and I still might do it, just because at our locals we have a lot of Rob Lucci players. There's a few Marshall D. Teaches, not very many. I can count them on one hand. So, to be fair, and if that's the case, we would definitely be dropping Doflamingo just for Rosinante. This guy in himself allows you to protect yourself from Ragnarok and Kingdom Come, removal from Rob Lucci, Blackbeard removal, things of that nature. This card is very, very good. And he also combos well with Eustace Kid, because you're able to play this down for free with this ability, which is pretty good. Gives you other options by playing Sugar, Rosinante in a turn, which is kind of strong. So we might just be cutting down this entirely, or cutting it out completely. Going down one Ragnarok. This is just, how you say, like, consistency. I see this almost enough, right? There aren't very many matchups where I feel like I need to have this card, other than playing into green decks. I'm not hitting anything in Shanks that's viable, to be fair. I can hit the... what is it, Rayleigh? No, sorry, Beckman, my bad. I can hit the Beckman with it. But other than that, I'm not killing Shanks with it or anything else that's viable in that deck, other than Silver's Rayleigh for the 8 cost. That's about it. The other card that's very important, of course, is the Eustace Kid, and Ragnarok allows you to get around it. Now, this also helps you out with Hody Jones and stuff, but outside of that, I don't really need to see this at 4. I think 2 to 3 is like the sweet spot for this list particularly, going forward. That's just me. But we also have some free space if we take out the 5-cost Doflamingos, which this deck can do and can change to different variations. So you guys will be seeing a bunch of stuff come from me when it comes to this deck in particular. And speaking of which, the Rosinante, I feel like if you are using this in any variation of Birdcage Doflamingo, you are gonna want to have events, period. And we're not just talking about the 4 bird cages. This does not count as an event that you can pitch to draw cards with this ability. So you are going to have to utilize actual events in the deck to get this ability to function. And I know that's, well, duh, right? But at the end of the day, some people really just run Spiderweb and Punk Gibson. A lot of us don't run Beam Sword or Ragnarok or Flap Thread. This is going to be like a me thing when it comes to the Eustace Kid. Very strong card. So you might not run this entirely. You know what I mean? This might be a Punk Gibson for you. So adding more events into the deck really does help out the consistency, being able to let you draw cards in the late game with Rosinante. Drawing into an 8-cost Kid or an 8-cost Doflamingo can really change the game, especially if you already have another 5-cost character in hand. Or being able to just slap down a Sugar for free off this ability or off Kid is very, very strong. But overall, I did have a lot of fun with this deck list. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave your thoughts and your opinions down in the comments below. Let me know what you guys are running here. If you guys want me to try a different variation of Doflamingo, what you guys think is doing very, very well for you, at me in the Discord. I'll take a peek at it. We'll talk about it. We'll do the thing, as we always do. This has been Pawseplays. Remember, guys, smash that like button so these videos can get floating around. Come pop in the Discord. Come tell me I suck. It is what it is. I will catch you guys in the very next video and or at locals. Stay safe out there. I'll see y'all later.